All right, so we're going to do number 7 through 12 in this video. So here we go. All right, so we have the sample size of 250. I noticed that on some of the quizzes I graded, sometimes we weren't clear on that N is the sample size, okay? So anyway, we're going to have a 95% confidence level that will play into our critical value. And then they want you to, they have 70% boys, 30% girls. What is the margin of error? Okay, so the margin of error is that whisker piece of the interval. And so on the formula chart, it's this piece where you're multiplying that critical value times this standard error. And so let's do that. First, you have to find this critical value. It is not 0.95. It is not 0.05. It's also not inverse norm of either of those. So look here. Remember that when you have a confidence level, 95% is what's in the middle, and then you do the tails, and what's in the tail, you inverse norm one of the tails. So that became 1.96, and then multiplied it by that, and there you go. It was plus or minus 5.68%. All right. Reason it's plus minus is because you add up or subtract down. Okay, now the question here is, what is the point estimate? Point estimate is that p hat that's just right in the middle of the interval. So if I know that this is my interval from 0.22 to 0.0 or 0.022 to 0.076, I know that p hat's right in the middle. So I just averaged them to find that little piece there in the middle. So that was kind of a vocabulary thing in recognizing that. All right, here we go. So here again, keeping track, true p versus a p hat. So here we have a survey. So I know this is my sample value, my p hat of 0.48. Then I'm going to make an interval. I'm going to be 99% confident. That puts 99% here in the middle. Then I'm going to have a half of a percent, 0.005 in each tail. So I'm going to inverse norm 0.005. That gives me a critical value of 2.58. Well, with that right there, I now know it's either A, B, or D, okay? But also, they told me that the national average is 0.39. That means that's a population P. And when we have intervals, we use P hat, not the population P. So I knew I was also using 0.48 here. So there you go. That's why it was D. Okay, number 10. Again, so I had tried this one way and I had several students try it the other way. We were going through all this complex configuring because we thought, and then we got to a point where we're like, I think I need more information to figure this thing out, to figure out the size of the margin of error. But then look at this. This is your interval. And you know your p hat is smack dab in the middle, okay? So from an earlier problem, I had figured that out. That p hat is 0.049. Then you have your lower bound, and then you have your upper bound. Well, that margin of error is the distance from the middle to one of the bounds. So I just did a subtraction to find out then what that size of the margin of error was, okay? All right. So coin flip on this one means I'm going to be using 0.5 as the p hat, okay? And then it tells me to use a margin of error of 0.05. So keep those straight. To be 95% confident, that's that inverse norm of one tail of 0.025. And so here is this plugging in here. And then I go and do the algebra. I hesitate to go show that to you right now, that algebra, but maybe I will in a different video, or you can come into tutorials and let me go over that with you again if you're having trouble. I got 384.16, and that's a minimum. So you always have to go up with that. And so then let's just finish up this last one. It says, hey, they're having a 95% interval and a 99% confidence interval. How do those differ? Well, obviously 95%, 99%. So you can tell more confidence is wider, okay? And that's actually considered less precise, all right? Okay, So there was numbers 7 through 12, and I'll see you in the next video for the next 13 through the end, or we'll see how far we get on that.